disability rights and public education advocate, and I'm a mom. And, excuse me. I'm running for Tarrant County Commissioner in Precinct 3, which covers everywhere from the DFW airport all the way over to Hazlet. So that's Euless, Bedford, Hearst, North Richland Hills, Richland Hills, South Lake, Grapevine, and a little bit of Trophy Club Alliance area in Fort Worth, and again, all of Hazlet. Like you, I care about my child's future and our growing community, and that's why I'm running for Tarrant County Commissioner. Before my oldest son passed away, I was his primary caregiver for 18 years. Got longer. And anyone who's been a caregiver full-time knows that you have to be on your toes and advocate and be available all the time. And under pressure, which is quite stressful. I'd give anything to have my son back, but the person that I am and the candidate that I am today is because of the challenges that I faced and the lens that I have seen through my son's eyes. My resilience, adaptability, empathy, and ability to stay laser focused on getting things done makes me the best candidate for Tarrant County Commissioner's Court. As your commissioner, I'll be responsible for our county budget, tax rate, infrastructure, including things like transportation and voter access. Some Commissioner's Court members are wasting our tax dollars to fuel service of guided and one-sided political agenda rather than what's best for ordinary people like you and me, and I will fight for that to change. For example, I will support the promises made in 2018 to voters who overwhelmingly supported enhanced mental health services for the community through our county hospital, JPS. Also, I will preserve our services and infrastructure. Everyone, no matter where we come from or how much money you have, should be able to give our children a good education, travel on safe roads, and have a comfortable place to live. That's why it's important to have more affordable housing and childcare options, so families like yours can count on having what you need. Next, I will fight to preserve voter access. Our election workers and judges are underpaid, often working long, stressful hours. Also, we should invest in our election workers making having regular and thorough training as a top priority rather than paying one employee over $100,000 a year to manage a voter fraud task force, proving there is no voter fraud. Last, the biggest threat to voters through the Commissioner's Court is the notion that county-wide voting will end. We have all benefited from county-wide voting. It's convenient, it's less stressful getting to any polling location that's closest to your place of work or your school, and it's difficult to have to run across town in order to meet the deadline. Frankly, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. As your commissioner, I defend county-wide voting and will be a fierce advocate against any voter suppression efforts. 3 members of the Commissioner's Court have been making decisions that benefit themselves, not us. My opponent, a close friend to our county judge, is no different. While my opponent spends his time outside Texas influencing policies like having the 10 Commandments in Louisiana public schools, I'm focused on understanding the issues that Tarrant County residents face. I will do my best to ensure our budget works for all of us, not just a well-connected few, and I will do it with transparency and accountability. Because at the end of the day, you are the voters, you are the ones in charge. You deserve full representation and honesty in the people who are elected to serve you. Please visit my website at lauraforterra.org and click contact to contact me or volunteer and donate so you can be a part of the change coming forward. Thank you so much.
Any questions? Do we have a question? I'm sorry. Anybody have a question?
Thank you very much for coming. My name is Richard Gonzalez, and I've had the pleasure of hearing you before. So, as you know, we live in a majority-minority city and a majority-minority county, with the plurality being Latinos, Hispanics, Mexicanos, whatever. So, you as a county commissioner, I know you represent a particular district, but understanding of the statistical reality of this county, which will continue in the future, including in the state. What do you recognize as one of the Latino challenges here in this county that you will address?
Thank you for the question. I am here to learn from you. That's one of the main reasons that I actually offered to come and speak today, is that I want to meet with you. I want to hear what your concerns are. I think that voter suppression is real. I think that maintaining jobs, having jobs available, having access to transportation that can get people to and from their workplace is really essential. But really, I'd like to hear more about what your concerns are so that I can try to serve you when I'm on the court.
This gentleman had for a you.
So my question is, by the way, I'm Alberto Wea, I'm President of LULAC Council 4568. If you are elected, do you plan to take a look at all the departments, including, but not just the county jail, and the county sheriff's department and all that, and try to find out what's actually been going on, what's caused all this concern? Because there's a lot of people that are really not only concerned, but to the point of being mad and confused as to what's going on because of the deaths. Is that something you plan to address?
Thank you. The deaths in the jail are very difficult from many levels. I am not well versed on everything that's happening in the jails, but I have spoken at the Commissioner's Court about my concerns as a private citizen. And I believe that there needs to be a true investigation of our department so that we can have some answers. I am concerned about the family, Anthony Johnson's family, who has stressed every single time since their family member Anthony passed away, that they want a full recording of what happened. So I am plugged into paying attention, just like you as a regular citizen, and I will do my best, whatever that may be. I am a new candidate, so I'm still learning about what the role, not the role, but what exactly I could do as a commissioner. Elisa Simmons, for example, has put a request to the forward at a federal level for a federal investigation, and that is something that I support as well.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Joanna Cordeza, and I appreciate all the issues that you're passionate about. Investment in quality childcare for the community. We can't have a good workforce if parents can't get out to work. Workforce housing, I mean, we have rising rents. a lot of families that are becoming homeless because they can't afford rents, or they can't afford to buy, young families that can't afford to buy homes here in Tarrant County. Transportation is definitely an issue. I know you don't cover Arlington, but we don't have public transportation, and that's a big barrier for health, especially like healthcare disparities and education disparities in our city. Definitely agree with you on countywide voting. We need to keep that in place. So thank you for that. But I do want to ask if you can elaborate. One of the things that I'm very concerned about is the judge continuing to give, I think it's the sheriff's office. They are giving people that 1-year trespass warnings where they can't come back to the courthouse for public comment for up to a year. I think that's ridiculous. I think, as a citizen, when we're concerned about an issue, that's the only platform that we have to give our opinion and speak up. So that's very concerning. And I also wanted to see if you can talk a little bit more about your opinion on the courts and how we can make those more efficient, because apparently there's issues with judges not showing up for work or not trying to get people, we need to get people out of the county jail.
Thank you. That is a lot to cover. I appreciate that. Okay, first, the incident with 2 people who were basically ejected from the Commissioner's Court recently in the last session have been at the court many times before. One is a former State House representative. Another is a pastor at a Broadway Baptist church here in Fort Worth. I was not at that court session, but I did listen and watch, and I was shocked, just like many people who were paying attention to that. What surprised me was I've been to the court enough to see that they were not the only, well, first of all, Pastor Ryan Price was not the only or first person to have gone over his 3-minute time. It happens. And I have never seen anybody else taken away because of going over their time. Also, it's up to the judge. He's basically the moderator of the Commissioner's Court. Do I agree with him to have those 2 people ejected? No, I don't. Do I agree that they also are now banned from the Commissioner's Court for 1 year? Absolutely not. That's very extreme. It feels very much like a step on our freedoms. Again, you are the voters. You are the ones who are in charge of what you want your community to look like and how to act. The next part of your question, remind me again.
The efficiencies of the court and the drama going on with the judges.
So she's referring to several months ago, there were over 100 speakers that came to the Commissioner's Court, and many of which are criminal justice lawyers. And they were very concerned because our county judge tried to take over the administration of the court. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And if it weren't for Commissioner Elisa Simmons, who was asking questions, why is this on the agenda? What is it, or actually she had it agendized, but she saw something and she was alarmed, and she went and asked the judges themselves if they knew about it, and they did not. Hence, that's why so many judges were there to speak. I was there that day. I also waited and waited to be able to speak. Time ran out for me. I wasn't able to do that. But as far as I am aware, there is a group that they formed or some committee that someone else from, there should be a judge or other people on the courts that are actually part of that, making decisions for that, but I don't know if I'm answering the question correctly for you, but basically I did not agree with what happened.
One final question, and I think Mr. Espino has it. What I read in the paper about this committee that was formed by the county commissioners was that they are starting the committee to look at it, basically to get more work, if you will, out of the judges. They're looking at people who don't spend a lot of hours in the courthouse, is what I'm assuming from what I read in the paper. But he's established a committee, let's look at it, you're right, it needed to have judges and attorneys on that committee, and let's figure out a better system to get, there's people waiting in jail 6 months before they get a trial, and that there ought to be a better way. So we should all support that initiative, is to speed that up.
Yes, I just looked at your platform and you have a lot of great ideas. However, I'm concerned because all of this requires funding, and we already know that our states rejected federal Medicaid money. They haven't put a lot of money into education. It's almost like there's political blackmail. We need vouchers, we won't give you money. And of course, affordable housing and mental health go hand in hand. Mental health is something that's real. I'm a teacher, I deal with it every day. Education, teachers are leaving because we're not getting respected, we're not getting paid extra. And what I'm concerned about is, and with Project 2025, we want to criminalize homelessness. Why are we going after the most marginalized people in the community? And it scares me because it's indoctrination in public schools. But my biggest concern is healthcare for undocumented. Right now, we're the only major county that does not provide healthcare, preventative healthcare for undocumented. Right now the vote is against us. So do you support that? Because I've worked as a medical interpreter, translator at JPS, and we've had people that have come to the ER, that's their first prenatal care. They didn't know they're pregnant, and hey, they're having a baby, and that also deals with the mortality rates of infants. And so that's my biggest concern in terms of healthcare for undocumented, for my people. It's just this whole agenda that's political. There's so much partisan politics in the Commissioner's Court, and I want to know where you stand on that issue.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. My son was medically complex and disabled. I advocated for him for 18 years, not just at school. I spoke out to different legislators. In fact, in 2018, when Beto O'Rourke was running for state or U.S. Senate, I had not met him before. I reached out to his campaign and invited him to my house, which he did show up. And I talked to him about my concerns as a parent raising a child with very expensive medical needs. And he listened to me. I do not agree that homelessness should be illegal. That is ridiculous. We should be asking, why are people homeless? We have veterans that come back from service. They're disabled, many have mental health issues that are going untreated. As far as the hospitals or the care here in Tarrant County, I literally just yesterday spoke with the board of the board chair of JPS, which services our county. And I have an upcoming meeting, a full 3-hour tour to learn more specifically about what the hospital provides. But in fact, he told me that they serve all people that come in through those doors. So as far as I know, whether you're undocumented or not, you are still getting treatment at JPS. So, through the ER. Okay, see, I need to go and look and learn more. So that's what I'm looking forward to, is learning more specifically about those issues that you addressed there. And as far as Project 2025 vouchers, that's outside of my purview, but I do appreciate the question. Thank you.
Let's give her a hand. Laura, thank you so much. Our next speaker is from our city up to the north, Denton. She was elected to the State House here in 2018 and 2020 in Denton. When they did the reline the districts, she was kind of carved out. But now she's running again for state rep out of Denton, House District, I believe it's 63. And with that, Michelle Beckley.
Hi, thank you. All right, so the district is the southeast, so my old district, I'm sorry, hi, my name is Michelle Beckley, and I am running for House District 63 currently. I did used to represent House District 65. My house has not moved. But unfortunately, they drew my house out of the district. There's a little like pimple on the district. That's where my house is, right in the middle. But the district I'm running on now is actually more winnable than the one I flipped in 2018. And in 2018, I became the first Democrat elected in Denton County in 34 years. So it can be done. So currently the new district, I live in Carrollton, and it goes all the way over House Lake, Grapevine, Trophy Club, and it does represent a little bit of Fort Worth. So we are, of the districts in the city of Fort Worth that can flip, we are the #1 district that can flip in Denton County. It's in Denton County, but it does represent Fort Worth. So in 2018, I got to the State House and just did everything that you should do, which is fight for our rights. And in 2020, I did serve on the elections committee. That was all fun and joy. No, it was not. But my main it was not. That was sarcasm, guys. Thank you. She got it. It was a lot. It was a lot of crazy, is what that was. We even went to Washington for a little vacation. No, that was not a vacation. That was when we broke quorum because of the voting rights bill, and it was a lot of chaos. During the redistricting, what they did in Denton County, I'm part of the NAACP lawsuit regarding the gerrymandering that's in there, because they took a majority-minority district and made it a white district, which is what they did with all of the Denton County districts and the gerrymandering of the districts. So we had a coalition district but now the Supreme Court has changed. But anyways, my main legislative goal was election day vote centers for Denton County. Denton County does not have them. I did get that passed in that crazy voting bill. It is an amendment in there, so I did accomplish my goal. So you can do it while you're in the minority party. So Denton County could get election day vote centers, which your county judge is trying to get rid of, which I know all about your county judge since I live in Carrollton, and he used to be the mayor of Fort Worth, so we know all about him. Hopefully y'all can vote him out. Anyways, so now my current opponent, so I want to talk about the vouchers, because vouchers are going to come to Texas if we do not flip 3 state house districts, minimum. It'd be better if we flipped 5. I mean, honestly, we should split 12 like we did in 2018 and take the majority so we can get some sanity in the Texas legislature and kind of bring some of the calmness back to our state. But the reality is we can flip 5, and this district that I'm running on is very flippable. I want to talk a little bit about some of the bills that they have going on. I don't know if you guys are paying attention, but the guy I'm running against filed a bill that got to committee that will make it where undocumented children cannot go to Texas public schools. So you guys need to be paying attention to this. This is part of Project 2025, because we know what's going to happen. Texas is the incubator for these bad bills. They will go straight to the Supreme Court, and they will reverse that 1981 precedent, and it will become nationwide. That is why your state house races are so important. And there's a couple other in Tarrant County that can flip. You guys need to help everybody on there, because we can stop this in the state house. And those bills are coming. They filed them. And my guy, he's got some traction, but he wasn't the only one who filed them. So the only way to stop this is to beat them at the polls. So make sure everybody's registered, but these bills are coming. He also filed a bill to make sawed-off shotguns legal. And he's an AR-15 manufacturer, so I guess he wants to make sawed-off AR-15s. I don't know. You tell me. I don't know what that crazy is. That bill got to calendars, meaning it was one step from a vote on the State House floor and the governor's desk. Why are they doing this? I have no idea. You tell me. There's no logic to it. But it is very important. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm passionate. This is why I'm doing this again. This is why I'm flipping another district. I was outspent 10 to 1 the first time. Even the second time I was outspent 2 to 1. I'm probably going to be outspent this time, but we can work harder. And I know you can work harder, get the people to vote, get all the people to vote. People ask me, what am I doing? I'm like, I'm knocking on every door that I think will possibly vote Democratic. And I'm going to find them and get them to vote and give them a reason. Because if we win, we can bring some sanity back to Texas, because we do not have sanity here.
Hello, my name is Alejandro. I'm from the Maverick Council 22507 from UTA. So I'm a student teacher right now, and in exactly 1 year I'm going to be a full-time teacher by myself. It's kind of crazy, talking to my mentor teachers and stuff, and now I specialize in science, and we're having to kind of throw that all out the window to prioritize, other things. I may be religious, but I just feel like it's kind of hard for me to be able to have to enforce that to my students that don't know that. I'm not their parents. I don't want to teach them stuff that isn't my job to teach them. So basically my question is how do you feel about protecting teachers' rights in the future? Because it is going to be pretty hard for us. What we know as facts is going to be taken out of context, and we're going to be forced to teach something that we don't want to put onto kids.
Thank you very much. So I went to Carrollton Farmers Ranch Public ISD, and then I went to Texas A&M with my degrees in biomedical science. So yes, I do totally understand the science. My sister is a teacher, and my nephew's also a teacher in Texas. So completely support, what we should be teaching the sciences. As far as what bills are coming through, I would fight against all of that. We should be fighting for the facts and the scientific method. I firmly believe it. I have used it. I legislated through a pandemic, and I've seen that insanity. I also have a small business. Weirdly enough, I own a bird store where birds are very susceptible to airborne diseases. None of my staff got COVID until a couple months ago, because you can keep your business open and function and not get COVID. There's just some common sense of scientific reasons to not get some of the diseases. So we can do it, and people do need to learn. I think part of the reason we have all this crazy with all oh my gosh, I can't wear a mask. Well, it's just science. Don't spread the disease so we don't overwhelm our hospitals, so we don't overwhelm all of this. So as far as teachers, the curriculum, we need to go back to our basics: math, science, English, history. History, can we just say history over and over? Because I think people should read a history book a time or two, because we seem to be repeating it. But yes, I do think I would fight for common sense, what we need to do to make our students, you're right, I believe in separation of church and state. How about that? I think that sums up what you were asking.
My question is, do you know Alfredo Sanchez and the LULAC Council there in Denton? Because they're big advocates for education. Alfredo Sanchez, the LULAC Council there. They also have a Young Adults Council there, UNT, so I would ask you to contact them. And they, again, they're really good about advocating for educational issues, so I think that you might be able to get some support there.
I don't think that was a question, but yes. So I'm down in the southern part of Denton County. So actually Dallas is closer to than the city of Denton for me, just so you know, in reference to the district. Yeah. That doesn't mean I won't go up to Denton, but I'm just.
Question. That only includes part of Denton County?
My district is all of it's all of Denton County. There's 5 state house districts in Denton County, so it's one of them. Oh, yeah. Oh, they do, yeah. I think I went to it like prior to 2020. I've been, yeah.
Any other questions? One last question.
I think the elephant in the room that we're kind of avoiding is the naked racism that's playing a part in a lot of what's happening, and the fascism necessary to impose that racism in the state of Texas. That landmark case that you're speaking of, Abbott hinted about repealing it a couple of years ago. So obviously they took his lead and went with it. And you're right in that it's coming up. They're going to do their absolute best to impose their will and dictates onto everyone else, even if they like it or not. So I guess my question is, would you be more vocal and open in regards to pointing out that, in essence, that's what's happening? Because, like you said, history doesn't always repeat. It sometimes rhymes. But at this point, it's like doing both. And we're regressing back to 1950, and they want that to happen. So I guess I just want to know whether or not you'll be more vocal in opposing the racism and obviously the fascism with the Project 2025 in your positions and your speaking engagements. So, yeah, pretty much. Thank you.
So, I'm pretty vocal, and so much so that in I think it was 2019, the former Speaker of the House called me vile and heinous in a secret recording. So I will try to be even more vocal, but if you look at my social media, I am pretty vocal, and there may be some snark and some swear words that go with it, because I think that's where we've gotten. I mean, it makes me angry. Like, it is, we are going back, they want us to go back to 1950, but they don't want us to have the living wage that they had in 1950, that's for sure. And, you know, we have dual income houses. That's just what we have to do to survive these days, and we are not accommodating that. That's why we need childcare. That's why we need all of the social infrastructure that we need, because our society has changed, and we need to progress with that society, and they're refusing to do it. And it is a constant battle, and I can tell you guys, if you want to hear a little story about elections committee, I can give you a little story. So I worked really closely with Jessica Gonzalez, Representative Jessica Gonzalez. I'm not a lawyer, like I said, I'm not a lawyer, but that sometimes is an advantage on the committees, because what you're trying to do is fight the legal battle that's going to come with these bills that are going to pass. So that's the strategy. So Jessica and I were at her house, and we're trying to strategize for the committee hearing that was coming up for the voter suppression bill. And our goal was to make it where it had so many points of order that they couldn't pass it. So, you know, sometimes you need people who think outside the box. And I think, I never thought, I'm a bird store owner. Who thought a bird store owner is going to be in politics? I didn't. And you know, but here I am. And I'm sitting there talking to Jessica, who's talking about all the legal, because she's a lawyer. She's a brilliant lawyer. One of the smartest people I know. And I said, hey, let's call Beto and have him come to the committee. And she's like, you can't. I'm like, I got his phone number, let's just call him. When he says no, nothing. People tell me no all the time. I don't care, I just move on to the next people. I gotta get 40,000 votes. I'm gonna keep calling people till I have 40,000 votes. I'll call Beto. So we called Beto. We invited him, but he was kind of, you know, should I come? So he did come to the committee. And all the other Democrats didn't realize that we had invited him. So on the State House floor, I'm talking to Representative Chris Turner, and he's like, hey, Michelle, Beto's coming, don't tell anybody. I'm like, I know he is, I invited him, and they just had no idea. But yeah, I invited him, I know. And that day, the bill had so many points of order because they were so discombobulated that that was our strategy worked. And you just have to keep doing strategy and think outside the box. And so, yes, I will keep fighting because, you know what, if I don't get elected because all 100% of voters voted because they don't like my policies, then that's the will of the people. And I'm okay with it. And this whole Trump's big lie, that was a lie. There is no evidence in the state of Texas that there is any of that stuff going on. And any voter stuff that's going on is already getting caught by our laws. I'm not saying there aren't some stuff that goes on because it does, but our current laws are catching it. So we should make it easier for people to vote. Election day vote centers make sense. They're also cheaper. They're also economically better for the entire county because you don't have to have as many polling locations and people know where they are and they can just go and do it. You don't have to have all this. And why suppress the vote? We should not. If they're suppressing the vote, it's because their policies are that bad. Exactly. If you have good policies, you don't need to suppress the vote.
That's right.
Thank you, Michelle. Thanks for coming from Denton. Be safe going back. Our next guest is Mona, don't kill me if I mispronounce it, Al-Shanawi, Community Relations Specialist with Carter Blood Care. So she's got a few announcements and we welcome you. This is your first time.
Thank you. Well, thank you for that warm intro. As he just mentioned, my name is Mona Al-Shanawi. I'm going to start utilizing my maternal last name. I think it will be easier, which is Ibarra Gomez. Mona Ibarra Gomez Al-Shanawi. So with that being said, it's a pleasure to be here today. I'm here to discuss a public health priority. I did a head count when I walked in, and by a show of hands, or rather, let me do like a trivia moment. Representing Carter Blood Care, your regional community blood bank in the community, how many of us will require a blood transfusion in our lifetime? Just let's throw a random guess out there. How many people do you think will require a blood transfusion during our lifetime? Well, okay, let's say out of every 3 people demographically in our community, how many of those 3 individuals will require a blood transfusion? 2. Okay. Well, you're actually more on the far end. 1 out of 3 people in our lifetime, we will require a blood transfusion. So Carter Blood Care, we are the only regional community blood center here in North Texas. We are tasked every day with procuring 1,500 blood donations to sustain our local patient hospital needs. Achieving that daily number, 1,500, is sometimes problematic. Like right now during the summer when people have different priorities, they travel, the kids are no longer in school, so homemakers and moms have to take care of their kids. So with that being said, North Texas is currently facing a critical blood shortage, especially type O positive, and I have news for you folks. Los hispanos tenemos la sangre de oro. Those of us that are Hispanic, we are the golden blood type. Almost 60% of us are type O, the universal blood type. So every time we donate blood, when we give 30 minutes of our time towards our brethren, we're saving 3 lives. The reason that we say that every blood donation saves 3 lives is because that blood product or medication is separated into 3 components: red blood cells, plasma, and platelets. From a health equity perspective, I heard this gentleman here today talk about JPS and the health equity narratives that he is privy to every day at the bedside. Oftentimes, we know this, racial minorities were more susceptible to chronic medical conditions. We're the ones that require more organ transplants and other procedures because we face additional stressors in our life. And with that being said, think of like leukemia, right? Kids that have pediatric leukemia cases. Those kids are at the bedside in the ICU getting platelet and blood transfusions every week. So your red blood cells go predominantly towards your gunshot wounds, surgeries and other procedures. Your platelets are going for cancer patients. When you're a cancer patient and you're receiving chemotherapy, that chemotherapy is destroying your platelets. So in order to keep you alive during the course of your chemo regimen, we have to provide you with platelet transfusions to replenish what's being lost biomedically. And then plasma is for severe burns and severe infections. So again, 30 minutes of our time, we're saving 3 lives, and during the summer, we're facing this critical shortage. Because we are regulated by the FDA, we are a medication. Blood products are a medication. But ironically, if we stop and think about it for a second, we are the only medication that can't be produced in a laboratory setting. It has to come from a willing human. So I don't have permission to mention hospital names, but today I've heard of many hospital systems mentioned today. Maybe it rhymes with UPF. And that hospital system, we operate in a space with the astronomical population growth that North Texas experienced with all the corporate relocations, the Californians moving in, wink, wink. That it's a basic supply and demand model. That 1,500 daily figure that I just mentioned increases, but the donors are not increasing. So we need younger, more diverse individuals in our community to really step up to the plate and provide this life-saving gift, which is blood donation. I was mentioning previously that as a medication, we don't have the space to go to UPS and say, I'm sorry, today we only got 1,300 blood donations, so we're at a deficit of 200 today. What is today, July 14th? So sorry 200 patients at UPS, sorry blood units, sorry gunshot wounds, sorry babies in the NICU. We don't have space for that. We have to show up every day with those 1,500 blood units. So my call to action today, my ask, is please, platiquen con los sobrinos, los nietos, los tíos, las tías, chat with your uncles, aunts, nieces, nephews. Maybe some of you want to get together and drive to your local blood donation center, and for 30 minutes, give the gift of life. Our blood products go directly from the donor center to our local hospital within a matter of 24 hours. I do also want to mention that to me this is personal. My niece, Jasmine, had leukemia for 5 years. She is a survivor. And with that being said, I saw on a first-hand basis how when she was receiving treatment at Cook Children's Hospital, how she required those precious blood doses every single week. So again, this is only community driven. It's not going to be accomplished any other way. Ya dije que los hispanos tenemos la sangre de oro. La mayoría de nosotros, we're almost 60%. We are type O, the universal blood type. I already mentioned this is a public health issue, and I do want to mention there's a lot of myths that surround this industry of blood donation. As a community relations specialist, I interact with the community, and so many community members tell me, well, ma'am, I'm sorry, I can't donate blood, I have a tattoo, or, blood donation causes weight gain, or other myths. And I'm here to tell you that those are all myths. It's not supported by the biomedical sciences. We don't gain weight when we donate blood. You can get a tattoo today, like at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, and you can donate blood tonight at 3 p.m. as long as that tattoo was conducted in a licensed Texas facility. I don't think anyone gets a household tattoo anymore these days. We all go to a center for the most part, right? So, again, just really want to put that out there. Carter Blood Care, as your local community blood center, we provide these life-saving blood doses to over 90% of hospitals in North Texas. So we are the only local community blood center. I really want to reiterate that. I also want to mention that if you guys ever decide, I am ready. I heard Mona's pitch today here at LULAC Chorizo Menudo. I'm ready to donate blood today or tomorrow morning. That please visit our website, carterbloodcare.org, and we have over 25 blood donor centers in the community. We have some in Denton, Dallas, all over the Metroplex. And then we also have 25 mobile bus units that sometimes you see across the community, parked at your local churches, libraries, and business facilities. So if you work for a corporate entity or as part of your book club or your church, you want to conduct a blood drive, call me up and I will make it happen. I'll park one of my buses outside of your facility. So that's really it. I really just open up the floor for discussion. And I do want to mention one final thing. I see Commissioner Garcia's son here in the room. Shout out. shout out al hijo de la oficial Garcia. Commissioner Garcia is actually one of our de facto spokesperson at Carter Blood Care, because a lot of people don't realize that her father was a hematologist in Mexico. So essentially the blood bank in el hospital in Mexico where he worked, he was like over the blood bank. So she understands on a very personal basis the role of blood donation and how we're here to help our patients. And from a health equity perspective, how there are certain demographics que somos los que más vamos a necesitar esa sangre because of cultural, socio-medical reasons. Thank you so much.
Anybody ready to give some blood? Three volunteers.
Blood?
I know, but you heard my question. How much blood do you have to give every time you go? Is it a gallon or is it a little bottle?
That is a great question. It is a pint, a little baggie, approximately the size of what I'm mimicking right now with my fingers. So it's not a lot. Your body organically replenishes that pint that you lose via blood donation. And I want to say that in the context of myths, I think we take for granted living on US soil that there's a local blood bank and that blood will be available at the shelf when, God forbid, you have this tragic injury and we end up in the ER, the trauma bay. I say that because, you know, mi madre es de Mexico, my mom is from Mexico, she's from Monterrey, shout out to Monterrey, Nuevo León. And, you know, I have taken for granted, I wasn't born or raised there. I spent my summers there, but I never got sick, knock on wood, during the summers. And I take for granted that these families, Spanish monolingual women that I interact with in the community have approached me and told me, Senora, like, ma'am, the thing is that in Mexico, if you get sick, you go to the doctor and they tell you, okay, well, go get me 4 units of blood. Go bring your aunt, your mom, whoever needs to come here to provide your blood units. So I think from a medical tourism perspective, we need to, essentially, I'm an anthropologist by training, so I always say, sometimes we need that outsider perspective to realize how blessed we are.
One question back here.
Hello, I'm John. I believe a lot in the blood because I've had so many blood transfusions in the last two years. So I know that they save lives because I'm a witness right here. I'm here to tell you that what if you have diabetes or something like that and you want to give blood to somebody? Can you still give blood?
Thank you for that question. That is one of my top 3 myths. That is another myth. We can have chronic medical conditions like diabetes, high cholesterol, and other diagnoses and still be eligible to donate blood.
So there are some incentives in the community right now because, again, we're at a critical type O positive blood shortage in the community. There are some incentives like a $20 gift card and other promotions that Carter Blood Care has in place. So I really invite the community to show up at one of our 25 donor centers, and really you will undergo a medical screening with the provider to identify whether or not you're eligible to donate blood. But to answer your question, podemos tener diabetes, we can have diabetes, and we can still donate blood. That is not a barrier. So there's a myriad of medical conditions that we can actively exhibit that condition or have it and still be eligible for blood donation. Thank you for that incredible question. Thank you.
That was a good question. One more question.
I got a question. Hello. Hi, thank you for coming. Frequent blood donor and platelet donor. And I recall one of the phlebotomists saying that there's going to be a mass drive at AT&T Stadium. Did I miss that?
We just had that on Saturday. How about them Cowboys in a collaboration partnership with Dallas Cowboys? We had a mass blood drive last Saturday at the AT&T Stadium. Yeah, our tagline became, how about them donors?
Shout out to Dallas Cowboys, America's team, for supporting us.
Let's give her a hand. What a great presentation. Let me throw out a challenge to this group. I think it'd be great if if we could get the Hispanic community in Fort Worth to understand more about how critical giving blood is. Here's what I'm thinking. What if we did it in September and May 5th, September 16th. Figure out through the churches, through the boys clubs, wherever you're associated with, let's have a blood drive. Let's get one of those buses, maybe get some cowboy cheerleaders over here, do something, but get that blood in the bank. The other thing we can do, could we do it around registration, voter registration? Set it up somewhere around the churches, around whatever. I don't know if you can do that, but I would do it. But registration and blood, because blood is very critical. But I would challenge that. I would challenge LULAC, Sal, Lee, everyone associated runs one of the chapters. Have a competition between the chapters. Who can give the most blood? Now, through blood care, not fighting, but at the end of the day. But anyway, with that,
on that effort, many years ago, my compadre Rene Martinez and I embarked on a journey of trying to get all the high school kids that qualified to vote, as they're 17 and turning to 18. We were able to penetrate the whole school system of Dallas. Now we have quite a few schools around us. I think one way that we could increase the voting block would be to get every superintendent in the state of Texas, and there's 1,100 districts in the state of Texas. If we could get those superintendents to agree to rate, they have a responsibility, incidentally, by a departmental policy that they should register every kid that's eligible to vote. However, most school districts don't do it. But a local group like this would actually go to the superintendent and to the school board and request that at the schools that every child be registered to vote. In fact, you can become a registrar, and you can make the teachers or counselors become a registrar, because it's a civic responsibility for all of us to be able, those that are eligible to vote, to register and vote.
thank you, Hector. Our final speaker, and again, be thinking about your question. It's 10:15. We usually adjourn by 11. So our speaker is going to come to us, talk about what's going on, Sheriff's Department. Think of your questions. We may have time for 5 questions if you ask a question. We may only have time for 3 questions if you try to give us a lesson on something. So, at the end of the day, let's ask 5 hard questions. This is a big boy. He can take it, you know, and let's ask the questions you want to. We'll be thinking about it. Let's be direct. And let me tell you, we've talked about history repeating itself. LULAC was formed February 1929. Now, I only went to Texas Tech, but I think that's 95 years ago. Now, do you know why LULAC was formed? Hector, you can't answer this. The reason LULAC was formed 95 years ago, get this, was around education. They wanted those young Hispanic Mexicanos to get better schooling in kindergarten. Well, they probably didn't have kindergarten back then, but elementary school, middle school. And the other thing was migrant camps. The treatment of those workers at migrant camps. Corpus Christi Hispanic leaders started LULAC 95 years ago. So is history repeating itself? If you think about where we are education-wise, what you heard today about this bill, who I hope that I will help make sure it doesn't pass, because to me, we ought to try to educate everybody. Everybody. The other thing about migrant camps, what kind of camps are we talking about today? So, one way LULAC has risen as much as they have, and I've known a lot of LULACers for a long time, is they build relationships. They're able to sit across from the President of the United States. They're able to sit across the table from governors and talk about what's fair. Let's treat everybody fairly. Let's treat everybody with respect. And that's LULAC. So think about your questions. And I want to introduce the Sheriff of Tarrant County. He's a veteran, Air Force veteran. When he was, I guess he joined the Air Force when he was in 1978. Served 3 years, came out, went to work at Dow Worthington Gardens for 31 years. Police chief, and he combined the police chief fire department together and was over that. And he ran for sheriff, now he's the sheriff. So with that, introduce Sheriff Waymore.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here this morning. I love the discussions going on. Huge fan of Carter Blood Bank. We will work 3 to 5 calls this week where trauma is involved in some sort, where that person we're taking to the hospital needs that. And it'll happen every week, unfortunately. But once again, it's an honor to be here. I love this side of town. You know, in government planning and the government people doing government things, I was driving north on Main, and I get a kick out of this when I'm driving up north there, and you pass 14th Street, and the next street is 20th. What happened to those other 6 streets? You know, but you see those kind of things in municipal planning, so it's kind of fun. But again, honored to be here. Let me tell you what we've done, and I know that there's some questions. I've already heard some questions about the jail that I might be able to answer some. I won't be able to talk about things that are under investigation, of course, but I will tell you about investigations. Is that Tarrant County is the 3rd largest county in the state, about the 14th largest in the nation, and that includes our jail. Our jail is the 3rd largest in the state. And we'll talk about the jail separately. Let me tell you about activities and operations going on outside of that. Some of the things that we started in 2017 was a human trafficking unit. Since that organization has been started, we are now closing in on over 700 rescues of people who are being trafficked. We are closing in on almost 1,000 arrests of people who are doing the trafficking. And we're going to continue that. Our buying sex. We've gone after all of those people, but rescuing those victims out from ages 4 up, by the way, is our youngest victim. But we've had several that are that teenage era, those 13, 14, and 15-year-old kids that quite frankly are our forgotten children, which is a tragedy on America, that they are out there and they're forgotten. And there's some policies I think need to be changed at the state level in order to correct some of that. But that's where those kids are coming from. A lot of people say, well, are you seeing things from the border? We have, but that's not the majority. We have seen stash houses where we've taken it down. We had one place over here in Fort Worth that we assisted FBI and Fort Worth PD with, where they had 22 women from several different countries, and they had them in cages. And they were holding them in cages until their families paid off the cartel to pay for them to be here. And those women have been rescued, and they're in a good place right now, and they're recuperating. But we've rescued kids that were doing child labor and so forth like that. So our human trafficking unit is working hard. Our narcotic unit is also working very hard beside of them. And in fact, we got a child trafficker who was also a dope pusher, and a Tarrant County jury a week and a half ago gave him 99 years. And we're happy with that sentence, and that he's gone away and may never breathe 3 years, so your children are at risk, nor mine. So that's our human trafficking. We also started an intelligence unit to be intelligent-led, and we were able to get some high-level people that are running that shop, and they're doing a bang-up job. They just a few years ago, because of some of the intel that they were given right out of our jail, is that we took down a whole group of Aryan Brotherhood. We got indictments in almost 14 different states. They also, one day, as part of the intel unit came in and they were doing what they do, and it's very technical, so that means I don't understand it. I mean, they talk about operating on the dark web. I said, is that when you turn on your computer and turn off your light? But, so they operate on those things. They came in and they said, hey, we have an active shooter threat. And I said, where? And they said, we don't know.
Oh.
I said, okay, well, we got some work to do. Well, they went to work, and long story short, to show you how small the world is, at about 2:30 that afternoon, Texas time, is the Bronx, New York police were standing on the doorstep of the shooter, and they interrupted and stopped that. They were able to neutralize that completely. Just a few weeks ago, we were involved with several different agencies, and some of this I can't discuss, but I want to tell you that what we did is we interrupted hundreds of thousands of dollars going straight to Hamas. And we were involved with New York PD again, we were involved with FBI, Homeland Security, all those people were in there. And that money was coming out of Texas, by the way, and heading toward Hamas. And so we were able to interrupt those things. But that's some of the things that we do. And there's some secret stuff that goes on and high-level things that happen in that agency, but they're doing a great deal of work to make sure that you're safe. And that's what we want them for. In our patrol division, they're out there working hard. I'm glad to report, because one of the concerns I always have is the highest DWI count and fatality accident count always happens over the 4th of July. Well, this year we once again put our task force out there. They made 30 arrests, and I'm also proud to report that this year that we had 0 fatality accidents from DWI on the 4th of July. And so that's some things that are happening there. Our CID unit does a variety of different things. I'm just naming off all the bureaus here. But one of the things that we started in Tarrant County, actually Sharon Wilson and her predecessor before her started it, and we continued it, is that we are the lead agency in the nation for medical child abuse. This is where we have somebody abusing a child through medicine. And we've had some success at prosecuting people and sending those people to prison that are endangering our children, because our biggest thing is when all the grown-ups are in the room, we need to take care of the kids first. And so that's what we're doing. So we're very vigorous on that, in line with the Alliance for Children and all the other groups that are doing. And we also have the largest auto theft task force in the state. They've expanded it. We've been #1 on that list, and they are returning millions of dollars worth of cars every year, and people are going to jail, and they're interrupting car ring thieves and this, that, and the other. But we do have gang issues. We have transcontinental gangs that are in here now. The Venezuelans, we're having a very difficult time with them. They seem to be very good at stealing cars, and they create rings, and they're doing different things, so we're doing them. About our narcotics division, to tell you, because this will tie into the jail, is in 2020, our narcotic division took $3.5 million worth of street price dope off the road. I heard a teacher talking about mental health a while ago. $3.5 million, that was 2020. In 2021, we took $21 million off the road. In 22, we took $35 million worth of drugs off the road. Now, here's the big difference. In 2020, downtown Fort Worth, an undercover narcotic officer could buy a gram of methamphetamines for $80. He could buy a fentanyl pill, the biggest danger to us right now, for $30. Today, you can buy that gram of pure methamphetamine for about $18 to make fentanyl pill for $8. And if you're buying a bunch of them, you can get them for $4 or $5. And fentanyl, we're losing people to fentanyl all the time. And it's horrific, and they're all ages, unfortunately. From the age of 2, we've had 2 2-year-old victims that have died from fentanyl, where they've got into somebody's stash. We've had people die, we've had several young people that have died in their teenage years. And it's no bounds, it's everywhere. And it's a huge threat, a huge concern with the fentanyl distribution that's going on in the country. And it's not just Tarrant County, it's across the nation. So we're battling those things all the time and working on that next arrest or interrupting things. And we've taken down enough people, we've seized enough fentanyl in our county to kill every person in this county twice over. Twice over. Now, let me go to the jail. 3rd largest jail in Texas, and 14th in the country. We're going to book in about 45,000 people into our jail. We do not keep Class C misdemeanors in jail. I hear that all the time. Why don't you get rid of your Class C misdemeanors? I've done that a long time ago. Class C misdemeanors are not in the jail. People talk about the deaths in the jail. There is some. In 2017, when I came into office, we had an average population of 3,400 people in the jail. Now, in that group, in some of my first briefings, because where my concern was, is mental health. 25% of the people booked into jail in 2017 were they were falling under the mental health guidelines. They were being treated by our mental health group. is that also in 2017, the people coming into the jail it was like 35 to 40% had some kind of chronic illness. Fast forward to 2023, what we're seeing, and I'll give you a couple more stats, is in 2023, our average jail population was 4,300. By the way, in 2017, we had 25 people in jail incompetent, stand trial, incompetent. In 2023, our average population here is 4,300, is that 66% of the people in jail are now mental health clients. 66%, so it went from 25 to 66. Chronically ill people that enter the jail is over 50%. So it is the largest mental health hospital in the county. We have a little over 100 mental health workers, including psychiatrists, PAs, nurse psychiatrists, all of those people. We have over 200 JPS employees in the jail to take care of all the medical. And we have a full infirmary. If you've never been in there, I welcome you to come take a tour. We have a full infirmary, like an urgent care center in there where people go. And we average about 5 ambulance visits a day. During the week, we take out 10 to 15 people a day to specialized clinics to be treated for their cancer, be treated for their kidney disease, whatever it is that they need. We do that 10 to 15 times a day. And we've even expanded as the summer comes along because of so many people. We're going 7 days a week where we're taking people to specialty clinics all over the place. So my point is that we've got a very sick population. Now comparatively, Bexar County is the closest to us, but they're a little bit smaller than us. They're the 4th largest. So in my first 7 years, 59 people perished in the jail. Out of those 59, there were 5 suicides. At that time, 1 homicide, and then the rest were medical. And when I say medical, it's heart failure or some other type of disease. And 54 of those 59 died at the hospital under the hospital physician's care. We had a death in the jail, not in the jail, in JPS yesterday. He died about 3:59. I'll tell you the case. This is pretty typical. This guy's been in and out of jail most of his life. He'd been in for violence and so forth and so on. He came into our custody from another agency in February, and he was on a felony charge. And he was ruled incompetent. By the way, the incompetence level has gone from 25, an average of 25 to 125. That means they can't stand trial. And they can't be let go unless the judge orders them to a facility. We're waiting on a state bed, and sometimes that wait is up to 1,000 days. So somebody that's mentally incompetent may wait for 1,000 days. So when this gentleman was incompetent, he had been in our infirmary inside the jail. He'd made 6 trips to the hospital since February. He was always under medical care. In May, because of diabetes and other things, he had a foot amputated. He came back to the jail. And then a couple of days ago, a nurse saw that he wasn't responding well, wanted him to go to the hospital, which is their authority to do. By the way, in the state of Texas, I've got to obey what the doctor's order is. I don't have discretion. I can't say no, don't take him to the hospital. Or do take him to the hospital. That's a medical decision. So he goes to the hospital. He's 68 years old. And they did a CAT scan. There's brain activity, but his heart wasn't doing well. He had a number of underlying situations besides diabetes. He had hypertension. He had all these issues, and he had heart problems. Well, the doctors felt like he's critical, and he may pass. So we go back and we're going to notify family. Well, he gave us no family members, no emergency contact, but he had been at JPS, and we coordinated with them, and we found some emergency contacts, and his brother and sister lived here, and we got them to the hospital where they could spend some time with him. But they made the decision. Some of this is public. We don't publicize this stuff. But they made the decision after a while with the doctors, which is appropriate, to pull life support. And he passed peacefully at JPS under the care of the hospital. It's not untypical. Heart attacks, kidney failure, a lot of cancer, and those kind of things. And you know, the people that come into our jail, the chronic people, repeat people, they're sick. And a lot of them are lifetime drug abusers. lifetime drug abuser. You can look at their criminal history and they've been to jail for all this stuff. And I will tell you that, and the medical field or the mental health field will agree with me, is that's what's pushing our mental health crisis. And we have a mental health crisis. But when you look chronically at these people, it's a lifetime of drugs, and it can be methamphetamine is still king, fentanyl and helpless, K2 is amazingly destructive. We find a lot of people have used a lot of K2. What is K2? It's one of the #1 causes of schizophrenia in the United States today. So we're battling all of those issues as far as mental health, and we do it every day. And we've got people in the jail, our troops are working hard, there's a short staffage, and that's nationwide of folks not wanting to be in law enforcement these days. But I do want to give you some good news about the jail. We also started some reentry programs. We have some 900 reentry programs because there's 3 things that an inmate generally has in common in the Tarrant County Jail. Those 3 things are this: they've never had a father in their life, #1. #2 is they don't have a high school diploma. And #3, they're motivated by some type of controlled substance. So those 3 things are common things. So what we did, we set up Narcotic Anonymous for the first time in the jail. We have absolutely thrown the doors open to chaplain situations where they've come, lay chaplains are coming in and counseling all the time, and we're seeing results with that. And we also have reentry programs. We have a veterans reentry program and what we call a VIP reentry program. And those things got off the ground and they're done great. And those programs, that people have successfully gone through those programs, we've seen recidivism drop from 66% to under 10. And we're trying to repeat that with as many people as we possibly can. And also, if you're interested in this, we're always looking for mentors because when they leave the jail, we hook them up with a mentor with a 501c community program, and they get mentored for about 18 months after they get out of jail. And I've run into these people on the street, and it's just absolutely amazing to me. And a lot of them come out and they go, got my high school education, I'm working, I'm supporting my family, I'm back where I need to be, and I'm clean and sober. And here we are 2 or 3 years down the road, and those things are happening. So we're seeing success in some of the people that want to do that. But also some other good things in the jail when you hear about that. And I gave you our stats, 59 deaths in the jail during that 7 years. 5 of them were suicides. San Antonio, Bexar County, down there, Hobbies had 78 deaths in jail during that same time period. He had 26 suicides. Just to give you contrast of a jail of our size doing the same thing. I know Javier Salazar, he's a good sheriff. He's not going in and cutting anybody's throat in the middle of the night. He's providing the best care possible for them. But sometimes people, unfortunately, die. And they die because they've made some choices of 20 years of drug abuse, or, we had a guy that came into the jail. We've had this all the time. We've used Narcan probably 20, y'all familiar with what Narcan is? Narcan reverses highs. If somebody's taking fentanyl or something, we can push Narcan up on them, and it's amazing. We've got a lot of people back in booking because they come into booking and they go straight down, and we're doing CPR on them. We're hitting them with Narcan, and there they are back. And we take them to the hospital, and they're at the hospital to go through the rigors of getting that out of their system. But while I talked about those 5 suicides, last year in 2023, your jailers interrupted and stopped 279 suicides. They also had a plethora of CPR issues where people falling out with heart attacks, people falling out with overdoses, and they have saved those lives. It's a very fragile community because you're talking about a community of 4,300. There's other people that have other figures that I can't find out where they got it. But I can tell you that we've compared ourselves to counties the size of our jail, because we have counties the size of our jail in Texas. And the people in our jail are living longer than the people in those counties, that, as far as county comparisons. But I will tell you this, because I've heard talk about it, and we've got former DOJ here. DOJ, while they have the Civil Rights Division, they also have a partner group called the National Institute of Counties. And that's in part of the DOJ, Department of Justice. and they have several tools and skills, and they also have some community service people that are in there. Well, in February, I'm making this announcement because we're going to go public with it here in a few days because we'll have the full report. In February, I was in Washington and I met with the DOJ. I said, listen, there's a lot of criticism about my jail, even though we're the third largest, we're generally number 4 or 5 in deaths in custody. We want best practices, but we want people that know what they're doing. I don't want to invite somebody in that doesn't know anything. I said, I want to throw the doors open. You bring as many people as you want to. You look at everything you want to look at. Our medical, our MHMR, our correction systems, our policies, and we threw open those doors, and they came in May, and they reviewed everything. There was no secrets kept. At the time, we had an inmate in custody. He was one of our 125 incompetent. His name was Campbell, and he did have a mind of about 7 or 8 year olds, and he was 6'3" and weighed 250 pounds, and he was in jail for aggravated assault. He should have been in jail, but there's no alternative. For a person who is violent, there is no alternative. And the first thing the chief told me when he got here from Washington, he says, Civil Rights has got 400 emails on this one inmate. And I said, let's get up and go see him right now. Because I've personally been visiting that inmate as I personally do. We walked, he was in the infirmary. I said, go in the cell, look around, talk to the jailers of how he's being treated. They went in and came out. He didn't like our food. Now granted, that's not, he might be right about that. It's not the greatest food in the world. And he wasn't eating right. So our staff figured out and went to our vendor and talked to his mama, who said he likes chicken sandwiches. We were feeding him 3 chicken, big guy, 3 chicken sandwiches 3 times a day, plus 2 insurers. He also got, he would get kind of agitated and that kind of thing. What calms him down? Well, he likes to color. Our staff, out of their pocket, went and got him coloring books so this inmate could color. And we kept him safe, and he's down at another facility now that a lot of teamwork to get him there, but that happened. So he's safe in doing that. But the DOJ says you guys have gone above and beyond. I've never seen a jail do this. On the brief out, JPS 2019 was rated the #1 hospital in the nation. Did you know that? Above Mayo Clinic. Well, today they're still in the top 5. That's who provides our medical services. You know, unfortunately, if you get shot or I get shot today or I'm in a bad accident, well, let's go to JPS. They're the best at the business. And we'll go there. So they take care of the medical end of it. Tarrant County MHMR takes care of the mental health end of it, and they're all our partners in doing so. So we go in and we do aggressively as we can. We had one prisoner die this year from detox. He came in, he was an abuser of alcohol and methamphetamines and some other drugs. He was at the hospital, he was in detox protocol. Unfortunately, he passed, and there's just not much we can do about it. But sick people in the jail, there's a bunch of them, like I said, you know, I don't think I told you this. In 2017, we issued 89,000 pills out of our pharmacy. We have a full-time pharmacy in the jail. That's a pretty good service. It's a lot better than Walmart. Is 89,000 pills. In 2023, we issued over 3.2 million pills to treat our inmates. So they're getting first-class medical. Oh, by the way, we provide dental. I have 2 kidney dialysis machines in the hospital inside the jail. And by the way, our inmates now in inmate services are learning how to weld. We're graduating them from high school. They are even starting business school, college. They're getting college hours inside jail. People have been lined up for it. So there's kind of a summary, and I'm sure I didn't cover everything. I tried to cover most of it from memory, which sometimes gets worse. But I appreciate y'all being here, and I'm open for questions.
Thank you, Sheriff, for your, I'm over here. Sorry. Thank you very much for coming out. I really appreciate that. In fact, I want to speak to that. Part of the concern and part of the issue I think the community has had is the issue of transparency. Arlington Police Department and Fort Worth Police Department have received a lot of criticism in the past for not releasing information about police killing someone, whether justified or not. And they learned their lesson, and they released the videos within 1 or 2 days. I mean, they just said, it's better to be open and just give the public what exactly happened, even though we haven't finished our whole investigation. It's better that the public see the videos, and thank God for videos now. You took 3 weeks to release your video. Now you have other law enforcement that said, from their standpoint, it is prudent that the public know. So I don't understand the reasoning. It took 3 weeks for the Sheriff's Department to release the video, and you didn't release all of the video, by the way. So can you help us understand why it took you so long?
Thank you. Thank you for that question. Okay, whether the death in custody that I just talked about with the gentleman just died at JPS yesterday, or we had the situation that we had a couple of months ago with Anthony Johnson. The deal is, state law says, Sheriff, you will call in a secondary law enforcement agency to take the lead. In this case, we immediately called for the Rangers. In this particular case that you're talking about, come on in. And the Texas Rangers have a different policy. So listen, I was for, let's release everything we have right now. And I'm not trying to escape that, but I wanted to honor the investigation. The Ranger said, let us interview the jailers before you do that, because that could affect their story. And I said, good enough, let's get that done. Well, some of the key people in that, quite frankly, had lawyers and put us off for that time period. And I said, once you finish the interviews, we're going to release what we can. That was the deal. And by the way, when the death in custody happens, here's what happens. We investigate administratively, and jail standards, we look for jail standards inside, and then we go to, it goes to Austin for them to review it at jail standards, and the Attorney General to do it, and then the outside agency. A capital murder case is probably this thick. A death in custody will be this thick because of all the hands in that pie. So I said, I will do that. That was one. Two, is I said, we'll release what we can when the family has seen the film. And the only agency in Texas, well, under law to protect the video or protect some evidence is the district attorney. They can show the family. That's what I'm getting to. So I said, once the interviews are done and once the family sees the tape, then we're good. We're off to the races. I want it done immediately. The last interview was done the morning before I released the video that afternoon. The family saw was in progress of seeing the video at 3 o'clock. I released the video at 4 o'clock. So that's what happened in that deal. I was keeping my word to the family because they asked me, don't let this go public until we see it. And that's when the DA got to it, and that's when the Rangers finished it. It all happened kind of at once, and we immediately released it. Now, releasing all the video, I appreciate that, is that Arlington, FBI, Fort Worth, surrounding agencies don't always release everything because of certain issues. One is, we don't release dead people. We don't release pictures of dead people. We don't release, people that are non-responsive and may be. And that was the decision on that. So what you did, you saw everything up until the gentleman laying on the floor when he got up. And according to the medical examiner, that's when he determined the cause of death. He said he was dead. And the DA said everything past that is irrelevant. Now, so I followed that advice, number one. And number two is, I know we got military vets here that have served in foreign countries and done all that. I didn't want to look like a third world country showing something so awful. Because I won't hide it. I didn't like what happened. Number one, obviously didn't like what happened, period. But the whole situation, there were some issues there that I can't speak on right now because of court issues. But I wasn't pleased with the whole event, if you will. And we were trying to make sure people were held accountable at different stages of that video. But that's the reason that we didn't release the whole thing. That's the reason I didn't release it until then, because the caveat, and most of these other agencies, whether it's Arlington, Fort Worth, or DPS, they also have similar policies that they don't release dead people. I mean, we started that, you know, last week we worked with murder where a man was slapped 37 times. We don't need to see that on the news. In fact, the news won't print it, because I talked to the newscasters, talked to several news agencies. I said, even if I released all this, would you show it? They said, absolutely not.
Hello, my name is Carla Palomares. I look forward to going to Tarrant County Commissioner's Court this next Tuesday to talk about a lot of what you shared today, Sheriff. Last May, there was a 287G steering committee meeting, the second meeting to be held in nearly 6+ years since Tarrant County adopted this anti-immigrant program. In that meeting, ICE officials and the Sheriff Department officials both admitted that this program wasn't even being properly implemented, and that's part of the reason why there was a lack of data to supply the public with on how many people are being detained on their immigration status, how many people are being released, how many people are being deported, and amongst other things. So 2 questions for you, yes or no. Are you going to end this program, and are you going to resign for the 68 deaths that have occurred in the jail?
I missed the second one. What was the second one?
You heard.
No, I didn't.
When are you going to resign for the 68 deaths that have occurred in your jail?
Thank you. Number one, I'm not stopping the 287G program. I disagree with your perception of it and what it's done. Secondly, we don't deport people. That's INS and immigrations. And thirdly, I have no plans to resign because of the deaths in the jail. I think that would be, we're going to do some things better, and we've had, like I said, we've had clean jail inspections with zero bumps. I mean, nothing. They found nothing on the. I didn't catch that. I'm sorry.
You failed the inspection 3 times.
That's not true. That is
tenure.
not true.
The jail has failed inspection.
No, not under my watch. That is not true. And it has not failed. There was a suspension because of a lack of time check, and we held that person accountable also. And, but we haven't failed jail inspection. And this year we got 0 issues on that. We've had DOJ in the room, or in the building. They've cleared us. They've said, hey, you got a Cadillac model here. Never seen this big a jail be this clean, or the morale of prisoners be this good. So I think that getting politics out of it, and you compare it with what's happening nationally, that we're right there in line.
Sheriff, I got 1 out of 2 questions. The first question is, do you have open door with the DA office?
I'm sorry?
Do you have open door to get to talk to the district attorney?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Number 2, I'm only speaking for LULAC 4743 in my office. We were asked to join the DA Academy, which I don't have any problem with that. It's a good idea. But I didn't have open door with Sharon Wilson. Now, I cannot get even a message to the district attorney's office on cases. And I'm talking about cases that are being handled with court-appointed lawyers. So these people are coming to our office because they cannot get any attention. And one of the worst things is that the district attorney, court-appointed lawyer, will not talk to the client, and they will not talk to the parents of the client. That's why I was trying to see how we can get in to speak to the district attorney so he will know that his staff is working around him and not able to speak with him to represent the community. That's the problem we got.
No. You're an advocate. What do you do with our inmates? I'm sorry.
I'm a police officer at LULAC 4743, but I have an office that is police officer community consultant. So a lot of the clients that cannot get any services in Tarrant County, they come to our office.
If you will give me something with your name and number on it, I will make sure that you deliver the food.
I think we have one more comment.
I don't have a question. I want to make a comment, and this is a personal comment from me. There's been now, 68 deaths in Tarrant County since 2017. That's since you've been elected. You are the elected leader of our jail, our Tarrant County Jail. This has been all under your watch and leadership. You've aligned yourself with far-right politics, with the people that incited racial violence against people like me. You are anti-immigrant. You've posed with Kyle Rittenhouse, who killed 2 people in a 2020 racial justice protest and got acquitted. You've taken money from white supremacist PAC groups. This is the reflection of the character that you pose and causes to create a culture that has no regard to black and brown lives. So there's something wrong that's happening in your jail that's under your leadership, and it definitely needs to be investigated. But what's hard for me is your alignment with a platform that supports insurrectionists, and that's very concerning, especially considering your role as leading our county jail. And as someone who is expected to prioritize law and order, it raises lots of doubts of the level of trust that we can place in you, especially for me and my family and my community.
Well, I'm sorry that you feel that way. Nothing could be far more than from the truth. I very diligently, my father grew up on the Indian Nation. I know about those things, and still I'm and certainly involved in those things. If you look at my staff, they absolutely reflect the community. Right now, where you're talking about 68 deaths, the commander of that facility is Commander Captain Maria Alms, an outstanding captain. She's doing hard work over there, and she's doing the best she can with what she got. Maria is a Mexican immigrant who I put in that place. I promoted her. And then out at our other facility is Captain Jackson, and she is an African-American female, and she's doing a great job with that. These are the people that are watching our prisoners. And thirdly, the guy over maximum security is a German immigrant. And if you come up to my office, you will see other folks just like that all over the place. So I present the racial issue. It's just not true. It's unfounded completely. And if you go look at the team, you will see that. And if you go look and you listen to it, and you talk about Kyle Rittenhouse, I took a picture with Kyle, and I had no idea who he was, like a million other people that I've taken a picture with. You can believe me or disbelieve me, it doesn't matter to me, that's the facts. And by the way, he was acquitted. He had a right to be there, and a jury acquitted him. And that's the way the system works. So he's found not guilty. And you can agree or disagree with that.
Thank you, Sheriff. That was the last one, Sal. We've got to get on because we've got some special announcements that include you here in a minute. Sheriff, thank you very much. If I could make a recommendation, Sheriff, there's a lot of distrust, obviously, with some of the questions we asked. These are good people. I mean, they're strong people. They're going to be around for a long time. I would ask you to go back, like Lee had asked you, work with the DA, because right now, there is a distrust. There's like, these guys don't give a damn about us, and our mentality is that we kind of punch back when that happens. And we need to figure out, how do we get in the same room and talk about this? Because Richard here he's an accomplished author. He's a former Star Telegram reporter. He is probably the leading Hispanic, Mexican-American historian in Tarrant County. He knows a lot. In history, let's not repeat it, but let's figure out, how do we get in the room together, get the Normas in the world, the Richards of the world, the Lees of the, you're not always going to agree. I think the first time Norma I ever met, she called me a liar. Well, so I hope that's the last time you don't call me a liar. But at the end of the day, we got to get over this BS that we're over here, they don't like us. That's not the way we ought to be. Everyone in here is an American. We all are. If somebody were to invade Texas, by God, I don't know, I want to run a gun, but I go borrow one. And let's get it on. But we got to work together. And you're the one that, I mean, you're busy, but you're the one that has entree to the DA and even the county judge. But get people who don't always agree with you, get them in the same room with you, and let's talk about it. And then from time to time, I would go to the editorial board and tell them some of the same things you told us. Because I'm telling you, I was pretty impressed by some of the things this gentleman said about how they treat the mental patients, the sick people. And again, it's more of a hospital in there than it is a jail. But we don't know that unless somebody tells us. But I would encourage you, get some of these folks in the same room with you and talk about it. You may not leave there the first few times you meet agreeing with everything, but at least you build trust and build a relationship. So thank you for being here. It's a lot of courage for you to come here, and I appreciate it. It's all right.
Thank you. I was honored to be here, and I don't have problems with people disagreeing with me. I am married.
Okay, we have some special, now especially this first one is special. Hector, you want to come up? Sal, do you want to come up too? Go ahead, bud.
No, go